Hello everyone and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for week commencing Monday, March the 15th, 2021. It's Gary Gillen here and I'm your host for this week's edition, and I can tell you categorically that I am feeling 100% better this week than I was this time last week in the immediate aftermath of the 55 celebrations, and I trust that all of you are too. I hope everyone is doing great and still basking in the glories of being champions of Scotland once again, and I will never get bored of saying that until we get 56, which will probably be around about February 2022 at the rate that Stevie and his chaps are going right now. So straight into the game segment. Last week just saw us play the one game away to Slavia Prague in the Europa League last 16, where we managed a very, very credible 1-1 draw, which gives us the advantage, of course, with the away goal, and is honestly no mean feat after the first 20 or 25 minutes of the game, where it looked like we were still drunk, to be honest, or certainly feeling the after effects of all the champagne and sliding over the dressing room floors for 2 days after 55 came home. I felt that we were very comfortable for about the last hour of the game and could most definitely have scored more. I'm not 100% sure what Connor Goldson was doing, and it seemed that he had to work harder to miss his header than score it to make it 2-1 to us at that particular time. And obviously, the game will most likely be remembered. Doesn't even matter what happens this Thursday, but it would be remiss not to mention that save by our wonderful goalkeeper, Alan McGregor, at the end of the game. It was absolutely incredible. One of those ones that I think is in the category of, I remember where I was when I watched that happen. You know, I remember what I was doing, who I was with, or that sort of thing. So for me, I was actually just, it's kind of boring, but I was just on my couch with my feet resting on Leo's beanbag right in front of me. I'd just finished my salad roll for my lunch, as the time difference dictates here, and then I almost nearly spat it out when I realised that they actually didn't score it, because in the beginning I was just about to say, wait a minute, why is no one celebrating there? And wait a minute, it looks like he's caught that. Wait a minute, he's saved that and he's actually held on to it. I was utterly amazed, and here just sitting on my own, it was just amazing. And make no mistake, honestly, this team, Slavia Prague, is a very, very good team who have had some big results already in Europe this season alone. And we all know how good they are. Like, we all know that they took care of Brendan Rodgers' Leicester. You know, third in the Premiership in the last 32 with I think it was a 0-0 draw in Prague. So we bettered that, obviously, with the away goal. And then they beat them 2-0 at Leicester. So, you know, I mean, and don't forget, again, like, they beat Bayer Leverkusen in Prague during the group stages as well, albeit they did get a bit of a 4-0 thumping in Leverkusen as well. So, I mean, we do know that we, you know, in Leverkusen, obviously, the reason I mentioned Leverkusen specifically is because they did a bit of a number on us when we finally managed to resurrect the European competition from last season a wee bit earlier this season as well. So they're definitely no mugs, and I think it's really a credit to the team and a credit to the club overall to talk about the progress that we've made on the park. I mean, just don't underestimate at all how far we've progressed as a team and as a club, honestly, in general, under the current management structure. It's absolutely astounding how far we've come, and it feels like, honestly, from every facet of the club, it just feels like we are supporting a proper football club again. And I do truly hope that bodes as well for this week, where we hopefully take our place in the last 8 and then head over to Sharkhead as champions and see what awaits us over there. So speaking of that, this week we have 2 very important games. The first is the second leg of the last 16 Europa match versus Sparta Prague at Ibrox, and it's this Thursday with a 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 4 p.m. It's not a mistake. We in North America went to put our clocks forward for daylight savings time this last Sunday, or early hours of Sunday morning. So that was yesterday at the time of recording, obviously, and we're now 1 hour less behind the UK for the next couple of weeks, so it's a bit of a later kick-off time for us, 2 p.m. for me here in Calgary when it comes. And the second, as I mentioned just briefly there, is the Old Firm game. Or maybe we're not allowed to call it the Old Firm anymore because one of us doesn't want to be the Old Firm or whatever. Well, okay, we'll see. But anyway, let's keep calling it that for now. And that's on Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, reminder, the clock change difference doesn't make any difference for Sunday's game. It's going to be 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And while this game is not as materially important to us in terms of club progress as the Sparta game, it's crucial for us in the fact that we want to continue our unbeaten run and humiliate them even more, and continue that run where they haven't actually scored against us this season, and I'm fairly confident that that will happen again. I did note with interest today, Brendan Rodgers on Sky Sports said that Celtic should do the right thing, or the honourable thing, or whatever word it was he used, and give us a guard of honour. I thoroughly agree, Brendan. You always said you were a good guy, good man. So the last time we played them, as you know, was back in mid-October. We won 2-0, 2 goals, an unlikely double from Connor Goldson, and that, I believe, was actually the rebirth of the Live It Up song. And that's certainly when I started to hear it afterwards, when we seen the montage of the game, and then it kind of culminating with Goldson trying to shake Shane Duffy's hand, and Duffy's just all apoplectic, so it was kind of funny. And you'll also remember that they didn't actually have a shot on a goal the whole day in that particular game. And it's funny to think now, but it was assumed at the time that Celtic had lobbied for that game to be pushed to October, thinking, or assuming maybe, that the fans were going to be back in the stadiums by then, and then they would be able to have the advantage in numbers in terms of fans. It didn't quite work out that way for them. And then we know what the result looked like. And then we of course, played them again on January the 2nd, when this time we didn't have a shot on goal, yet still took away a 1-0 victory thanks to Callum McGregor's own goal. Cheers, Cal. Either one of those results will certainly do me this coming Sunday, and it's likely, I imagine, to be the first of 2 league games against them on the bounce, or very close together, I would imagine anyway, as the SPFL typically tries to get the Old Firm game out of the way early after the split, or possibly that's dictated by the league positions of both teams at a particular point in time. So it's not going to be week after week though, because after the Old Firm game there is an international break, and then we have the Scottish Cup weekend, so we won't be rapid fire playing them. We'll still have a couple of games in between to get a wee breather from them and get ourselves all cleaned up from the Shark Head game. So the points per game is no different to what it was last week. 2.73 points for us, 2.13, 0.6 of a game per game better than them. That's utterly unbelievable. Regular weekly plug here for the RTV vouchers. If you want or need any information on the RTV vouchers, please do get in touch with your club president or secretary, and they'll get in touch with me, and we will get you sorted out. And as I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, there hasn't been any new. I think there's maybe been one new in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and the other ones have just been expired or defunct codes or whatever that's happening. So that's no problem. We can still manage that, and just please don't hesitate to get in touch. I'll be interested to see if any come up this week in the lead up to the Old Firm game. So from a convention perspective, as you may be aware, and hopefully are aware, we did indeed put the NARSA Las Vegas 2022 hotel rooms out for booking this past Saturday morning, taking truly our first significant steps towards getting officially excited for the event. And I have to tell you, the early uptake numbers have not disappointed at all, both ourselves and the Caesars Entertainment Group. At the time of recording, so right now it's 7:24 p.m. my time on Monday evening, the 15th of March, and we have already sold out 72% of the rooms. And that's in just over 55 hours since we put them out there for booking. So 72 and 55, for some reason those seem like poignant numbers. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm sure you can work it out, but all in all, it's an incredible start. And all that to say, if you are thinking of going, please, please, please don't delay in booking your rooms to avoid any disappointment. 72% sold out in the first not even 3 days is pretty incredible going, and I have a feeling that we'll be going back to Caesars Entertainment fairly shortly to say I think we have to probably increase the contracted amount of rooms that we have if this continues, which is a great conversation to have for everyone involved. Now, I did give everyone a wee bit of bum information last week. I told everyone that Caesars Entertainment had tagged a $15 processing fee onto bookings over the phone, and to please pay attention to that and do everything you can to book online. That was wrong and was basically essentially a result of me not reading an email properly. However, if you are calling in to book, you can do that. There will be no penalty for doing that. It is very, very, very important that you mention one of the following 3 codes. Just one. You don't need to mention all 3. You can either say it's for NARSA. You can either say it's for the North American Rangers Supporters Association, or you can use the code SMNAR2. SMNAR2. To ensure that there's no processing fee charged to your account. So if you've subscribed to any of our mailing lists or are part of any of our mailing lists, we've sent out the details with everything that you need to get it booked either online or over the phone, including detailed room costs, breakdowns, taxis and other fees. It's also on the NARSA website. That's narsa.ca/LAS-Vegas-2022. It's basically, if you go to narsa.ca, it's almost front and centre. It's actually front left on the screen just below all the podcasts that we've been doing, and you can click that link and it will give you everything that you need. We'll definitely keep everyone updated about the hotel uptake, and we'll also keep everyone posted on when they can expect the event tickets to go on sale. I don't think at this point here, just in mid-March, that it will be before April, but we won't hang around too long, as I know that many folks just want to get their tickets secured, have their hotel already booked, of course, and then just wait and see what the flight situations look like depending on where it is you're flying from. So we won't hang about too much to continue to build excitement for the event for next year. So feels kind of real. It feels good to be talking about material things, and it feels good to be talking about absolute popularity and interest in our wee event. So from a feature segment perspective, last week we did get a chance to chat to 5 stars Arthur Newman, of course, and Graeme Clark, both part of the heartbeat of 5 stars. And unfortunately for the interview that we had conducted, it was conducted on Wednesday, I believe. Chris Boyd couldn't make it because he had other commitments, but did extend his apologies and a very generous offer to chat again with us over the coming months. And the interview intent was really just honestly to promote the journey of and the work that 5 stars have done to date that has taken them to full partnership with Rangers Football Club in what I believe is less than 2 years of operations, which is amazing. And as you know, the purpose of most of the interviews is truly just to kind of advertise and edutain anyone who's listening in the things that are going on in and around the club. And you might have noticed, for example, if you've happened to have listened to the Arthur part of the interview last week, we're not really focusing on the football side of things. There was a wee, fun quick fire question at the end in terms of who was his favourite player, and he kind of ducked that one, to be dead honest. But it's not so much that a football podcast, more of a education on the business side of Rangers podcast. But I find it interesting, and I hope that other people do, and just to learn a wee bit more about the major components of the Rangers family machine, if you like. So I found this particular interview fascinating, as Arthur and Graeme both speak very well of their journey together and how it started and how it manifested into what we see today, and focused a wee bit, not too many details, but a wee bit on the plans for even bigger and better things for both Rangers and 5 stars going forward, which is imagine you're going to see going into overdrive when the lockouts and lockdowns can cease. So it's another insight into professional and passionate Rangers supporting partners doing meaningful Rangers work that's to the benefit of Rangers and Rangers fans. So I hope you enjoy the insight that they provide and consider some level of support for them and their events and their products at some point in the future. From a communications section perspective, a couple of things I wanted to mention from the club from last week. The first thing, I just wanted to reiterate again that the club had been really proactive about getting 55 championship-related merchandise out there for us to purchase. And as expected, a lot of the items were sold out almost instantly. So, I mean, kudos to the club for a very proactive stance and getting that lined up, teed up and for sale. And I'm really glad that they got that out as quickly as they did. If you haven't had a look yet, please do go in and check it out. There's some really, really cool stuff there. And I'm very pleased to say that I have my Champions Dairy Milks and Party Pack all ordered. I guess it's a kind of pre-order for those. And hopefully they will arrive before trophy presentation day. That's the plan anyway. Secondly, I briefly touched on it last week. The rumblings did continue, during the course of the last week about the fan behaviour after last Sunday's championship win, which prompted the club to have our captain and manager reiterate, once again, the need for COVID-appropriate fan attendance and behaviour for this weekend's Old Firm game. And another club statement confirming that ongoing talks were positive with the various parties involved. So once again, like from a communication perspective, you can really tell that we as a club are truly ramping up, beefing up in this area, and in the way that the club have responded to this. We stated facts, including a call for further and ongoing multi-stakeholder communication and dialogue, and that was kind of ignored in the initial furor around everything that was going on. Then we proactively have our captain come out and message the fans, have our manager come out and reinforce the messaging with an open letter to fans. And now this particular part of the masterstroke is, I think, where you can really see the discernible differences now in terms of our communication maturity, because while it's speaking specifically to fan behaviour and I guess probably fan behaviour in general, there was a specific emphasis on this weekend's game at Shark Head. So you didn't hear much coming from that other mob from the east end of the city doing anything similar until they put together a very hastily organised Celtic TV, interview with John Kennedy to kind of reiterate the stuff that we had already said. So now the caveat to that is I haven't watched that interview. I just know that it happened. And nor will I watch the interview. I'm not interested in anything that they do. But the point is that once again, they're trailing in our wake on every front, and long may that continue. So kudos to David Graham and all the communications guys at the club for being robust and steadfast in all of our communications approach. And I want to finish this wee part with a brilliant tweet that I seen last night that was posted on, I can't remember who posted it now, onto the NARSA Communication WhatsApp group that said, only in Scotland could a behind closed door match be at risk of being called off due to the risk of crowd trouble. Oh my God, that's so funny and so true. To wrap this part up, I honestly truly believe the club has done everything that they can to manage the situation, and I hope the government just go and be a nuisance to someone else from this weekend onwards. I imagine it will be top of mind between now and Sunday. Also, from a club perspective, you might have noticed on Friday past there that the club did respond with their thoughts of the findings of the review of sexual abuse in Scottish football and Rangers' specific role in it. And I'm just going to quote part of the article on the website here, saying, "We are in receipt of the report published by the SFA following the review of sexual abuse in Scottish football and have taken some time to consider its lengthy findings and recommendations. We are firmly committed to ensuring openness and transparency in relation to this issue and agree on the uninterrupted ethical obligation of clubs over time, irrespective of changes. We express our sincere sympathy to all individuals who have suffered abuse within the Scottish game and commend the bravery of all survivors who have come forward. With regard to the specific instances referred to, as the report states, these concerned one former employee. We note the report accepts that when former senior managers were provided with a direct allegation, this was taken seriously and dealt with promptly. The report commends the action taken and acknowledges Rangers have previously said publicly the matter was reported to the police at the time. Now, I love this statement for two main reasons. One, obviously, the main and most important fact is the club have acknowledged the time that it took to respond and essentially said, we'll respond when we're ready. We won't respond just because certain other parties are jumping up and down and claiming some sort of, guilt as a result, and are basically trying to deflect from their own frailties in this particular area. But the club basically says we'll do it when we're ready, and not when other parties think that we should be ready. And number two, it does openly acknowledge the club's part played in this whole sorry series of events. No excuses, no fluff. Here's what happened. Here's what we did, and let's move on. Again, just crisp and clear communication. I can't honestly stress how much I really do like that. And just from a wee bit of stuff outside the club, I wanted to, if you haven't seen it already, turn your attention to an article that I read today by Sam Wallace that was featured in the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph. And it's a very well-written piece based on an interview with our Director of Football, Ross Wilson, that was conducted while Ross was in Prague last week. And it gives a wee bit of insight into Ross's drive to join Rangers, what he's experienced since he's been with the club, the kind of one Rangers feel to everything we do as a club, and of course what 55 means to him. And the reason that I wanted to bring this particular one up is that it shares a lot of information that, if you paid any attention to some of the interviews that Ross has done during his tenure with us, there's a lot of similar information there. But what it's tinged with now is a real sense, to me anyway, of belonging. Like he's buying into this. He believes it. He is living it. He is loving it. And I'm just going to quote just a wee part of it. The history of the club is about winning. This is Ross Wilson saying this. The history of the club is about winning, and we had been through fundamentally the worst period in the history of the club and hadn't been winning. So that's why title number 55 is talked about so often, because it was one of the most coveted titles in the history of the club. We had waited so long as a club and a fan base to get to 55. Just in reading that, and if you get a chance to read the rest of the article, you should do, you can tell that Ross is genuinely buying into, and more importantly, playing a very significant role in contributing to what we're doing as a club and the progress that we're making. And I just love reading stuff like this, and it's great to see somewhat of an independent view of this, and not staged from our own communications or anything like that. It's in the mainstream media, and so it's just all that to say, another top appointment in a top and improving team. And I don't mean the first team, I mean the team that is now Rangers leadership. So as I say, check it out if you can. If I can get a link to it that doesn't mean that you have to subscribe to the Telegraph, I'll put that in the blurb for this so that you can get a chance to read it. It's not too long, and there's just those tinges, as I say, of nuances of everybody just getting it a little bit more the more we go on. He talks about one of the part, I won't spoil it, but he talks about how Alfredo knows all of the party tunes, the Rangers party tunes, and the fact that he's suddenly learned English ever since 55 hit, and he's walking around speaking English all over the place now. So he's definitely one of the legends that's got us there, and it's brilliant to hear just that anecdotal stuff in the background as to how everybody is adapting and adopting to being champions. So finally, on the communication front, I wanted to touch on a little bit more of a sombre note, unfortunately, but the somewhat hysteria caused by Walter Smith's health prognosis from, basically it started, certainly when I got alerted to it, it was last Friday, and it's kind of continued up to kind of today, although it's been very, very quiet today, certainly from stuff that I've seen anyway, that, I know that most fans were shocked and absolutely devastated, honestly, by the news that he wasn't doing well. But quite honestly, the frenzy, specifically on Friday and Saturday I'm talking about now, was like nothing I've ever seen before. And it seemed all the more off because we were talking about Walter and nothing actually to do with football or our team winning or progress or anything like that. Now, I can venture a guess as to why that is, because he's very important to him, to us, I should say. He's obviously a legend, a living legend in our club's history, and a thoroughly genuine, nice man to boot. But essentially what we're talking about here, what we were talking about here on a lot of occasions, was about a man's health. And, definitely a man who we all love and admire, and a Rangers man through and through who we feel close to for the experiences that we've all gone through together. But more importantly, a man with a wife and children and grandchildren who hasn't enjoyed the greatest of health this past wee while. And it just, as I said, it just felt really off and distasteful to me in some of the things that I had read online. And I don't mind admitting at all that because of all that, I hardly slept a wink all weekend, truly, honestly, worrying what I was going to see when I woke up in the morning to see if some of the grave reports were going to be true. I don't take my phone up to my bedroom ever. And I have WhatsApp on my phone, and WhatsApp doesn't go into the iPad. So I would wake up in the morning and I would have a horrible sleep. I'd come downstairs about 5 or 6 a.m. and look and then breathe a gigantic sigh of relief that there was no grave news from that. And it was just an awful feeling. And I know I've dealt with Walter a wee bit over the last 15 months or so, and we've communicated a lot, and I have a lot of time for him, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single conversation that we've had. And in no way is this enjoyable for anyone, but we have to give the guy some breathing space here and separate our own feelings from the feelings and respectful request that the family made to have privacy during this time. I don't think any of us would like this sort of stuff to happen to us. So today, as we sit, as I say, recording on Monday evening, I'm taking it as no news is good news, and the club did iterate, obviously, the fact that that Walter's family has requested privacy at this time. So let's do just that and keep him in our thoughts and our prayers, because that's 100% what I'm going to do, and then hope that we have a positive and successful outcome for him and that we see him back on our RTV screens sooner rather than later. So this week, from a closing perspective, kind of for would that be the second week in a row, maybe third week in a row? I'm not 100% sure what's happening on the interview front. I did have one lined up for the last couple of weeks with a 9 in a row heavyweight that I know that you're going to really, really enjoy. But we're really struggling to make our schedules work and make the actual interview happen. Everything's all lined up apart from the timing of the actual interview. We do fortunately have another few in the hopper that are from a wide range of different angles in the Rangers family, and I'll certainly turn attention to those in the short term and see if we can make them happen. We certainly will, and we'll try and bring you an interview this week. If not, we'll have another break from interviews this week, and my sister Debbie will be delighted again that she doesn't have to hear my voice, which would be nice for her, I guess. Another quick reminder of our pending deadline for any proposed constitutional or electoral positions. The deadline is April the 5th. We have, almost, I guess that's probably 3 weeks today. Yes, it is 3 weeks today. And as I mentioned last week, if you go to our constitution page, if you go to narsa.ca/constitution, then you'll get to see what timelines and what has to be done from an admin perspective to get whatever it is you need put in properly, so that there's no an admin stuff or anything that would get in the way of you getting done what you need to get done. And I also wanted, the reason I mentioned it again, and as I mentioned last week, I'm going to mention it again every week until the 5th of April, but this is also for the 2023 convention applications as well. As you'll probably know, the conventions that we have are a 2 week, I wish it was 2 weeks, a 2-year rolling planning cycle. And we have our convention obviously organised for 2022, excuse me, in Las Vegas, and we will be looking for bids for 2023 as well. So take a peek and get your stuff in. If you need any help whatsoever or any guidance or advice, you can reach out to Sandra Hawthorne, the NARSA secretary, or me directly at rangersSCC@hotmail.com. That's 2 S's and 2 C's, and we will steer you right. Please don't wait till the last week and then ask all your questions at 11th hour and then create a whole bunch of faux urgency that could have been avoided. Let me know if there's anything you need prior to that. That would be much appreciated. Okay, folks, so that is us for another week. And just one last reminder, if there is anyone in or within the periphery of the club that you would like us to try and interview and to give us the reasons and rationale why you would like them to be interviewed, please don't hesitate to get in touch at the details I just gave in the previous part there, because we would love to hear what you would love to hear, to be perfectly honest. And I'm just kind of shooting in the dark with most of this stuff, that I'm just doing things that are interesting to me and hoping that they're interesting to other people, and I'm sure they are, but it would be good to get some requests in as well. And no one has ever gotten in touch, like almost everything else, but I'll continue to ask, because I'm sure that there are some great ideas out there as well. Okay, my friends, thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen. Please do share this with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And until we speak again, take care. All the very best.